Mr. White, that's definitely not wise. Mr. White, not again. Come on. Mr. White, no.
In life, we're often taught to make the best out of a bad situation, and it is no different when it comes to professional wrestling. We've seen it time and time again, whether that be in terms of a rancid storyline, a sloppy match, or an unfortunate accident that might take place. There's almost always a way to capitalize off of something misfortunate and try to make it as useful and productive as possible. This is exactly what happened in 2005 and 2006 when a referee forced in a retirement due to injury participated in a web series with the sole intention being to end it all, and that is what we will be discussing in today's video. If you do enjoy this video and you want to see more videos about all the random and cool stuff that comes from pro wrestling, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. With that being said, let's get right into it.
I know you make the right decision.
Meet Tim White. Unlike literally every other person that I have covered on this channel, Tim White has not wrestled a single match to my knowledge. White was one of the most dependable referees in the World Wrestling Federation throughout his time, beginning in a part-time role in 1985 while also being sort of a caretaker for the legendary Andre the Giant. Following Andre's passing in 1993, White started refereeing full-time for the company and was part of some of its most famous moments. White was the referee for the Undertaker vs. Mankind Hell in a Cell match at the King of the Ring event in 1998. You know, that one where Taker threw Mankind off the cell into the table? Not really a well-known spot if you don't know it. During the match, White showed genuine concern for the match continuing as Taker threw Mankind through the top of the cell. He wanted to call the match, but Mick Foley himself was begging him not to, and ultimately he didn't. He interacted with some of the biggest wrestlers in the industry and participated in some of the biggest matches in the industry for a very long time, up until about 2002, where he officiated a match between Triple H and Chris Jericho at the Judgment Day event inside of Hell in a Cell. During the match, Jericho was sent right into White, who crashed into the cell and landed right on his shoulder. It also didn't help that Jericho picked up White and then threw him shoulder first into the cell once again. He wouldn't finish this match, and the injury that he suffered to his shoulder was enough to end his full-time career as a referee. He attempted to make a comeback as part of WrestleMania 20 in Madison Square Garden in a match involving Jericho as he faced Christian. However, White re-aggravated his injury on the final 3 count of the match, permanently putting an end to his refereeing career. Following these injuries, White would remain contracted to WWE and would work as a producer for the remainder of his time in the company. December 18th, 2005, WWE held the Armageddon pay-per-view in Providence, Rhode Island. The main event for this show was a Hell in the Cell match between The Undertaker and Randy Orton, which was the culmination of their feud that had begun at that year's WrestleMania. During the event, they cut to a very young, fresh out of Tough Enough Josh Matthews at the Friendly Tap Bar, which was frequented over the years by a variety of wrestlers and was owned by none other than Tim White. The segment was essentially Josh Matthews unintentionally rage-baiting White, who had 2 different drinks in hand while describing how Hell in a Cell ruined his life, led to his family leaving him, and left him with a myriad of health issues. As White reflects on everything that he's lost, he pulled out a shotgun, got out of frame, and shot himself as Matthews looked on. This was live on pay-per-view. A notable amount of fans were booing after the gunshot went off, and that's how the segment ended. At the time, WWE ate shit for this segment, some would say rightfully so, considering this was about a month after the passing of Eddie Guerrero, and it was widely viewed as distasteful. There were reports following this segment that there were over 1,000 calls made to local police in Cumberland about White's well-being, thousands of dollars in damages caused by police because, they took this shit seriously, and thousands of emails to the bar offering condolences. On one hand, it's funny and a little cool to see that this shit is still real to some people, but on the other, this segment was completely unnecessary and did not need to make the airwaves. I get the point they were trying to make, that Hell in a Cell can alter lives, but I just think the whole thing was really weird. You can argue that this segment ultimately did more harm than good, so naturally, WWE decided to try and capitalize off of it. This segment didn't kill off Tim White, by the way, as he shot himself in the foot accidentally instead of what was implied. Matthews returned to interview White again following the failed attempt. White doesn't say a single word, grabs a box of rat poison, and consumes the contents of it as Matthews pleads with him not to do it. It is here where he drops the infamous "Mr. White, that's not wise" line for the first time.
Mr. White, that's not wise. Please don't take that. Mr. White, that's not wise. Mr. White, that doesn't sound wise. Oh my God, Mr. White, that wasn't wise.
This kicked off a series on WWE's website titled Lunchtime Suicide, which was released every Thursday afternoon for a couple months, with White attempting to end his life while Matthews begs him not to in various ways. The next episode was very short. White pulls out a rope in his chair and does what we would expect one to do with those 2 things. Next episode, he takes a toaster bath. Next episode, he went across the street, wink wink, on his wrist, suffocating himself with a plastic bag, drowning himself in a fish tank, shoots himself for the second time, consumes mad cow disease, strangling himself with a landline phone cord, throws himself onto the blades of an unguarded fan, and hired a hitman to try and take him out. Throughout the series, Josh becomes much more talkative and irritable, and you could see how much White is irritated by him. I can only imagine what Tim thought of 2017 Josh Matthews in TNA. The 15th episode is the first one where White does not try to kill himself. Instead, he invites Josh to a celebration of life at his bar. This leads us to our series finale, which includes Tim getting Josh hammered. They reminisce about all the times Tim had tried killing himself, including that very first time in Armageddon. Whilst remembering, Josh asks about the whereabouts of that shotgun. Tim pulls it out from behind the bar and blasts Josh in the chest with it. Unlike every other episode in this series, Tim pulled the gun off of himself and put it onto the poor guy pestering him for months. And I think there's a case that you can make that Josh Matthews was causing his depression. And I think at first it was because of the shoulder injury on why he was so depressed, but after a while I think it was just Josh Matthews annoying the piss out of him. After not speaking a word since Armageddon, White speaks for the first time in months in what would be the final moments of this series.
Josh, that was not wise.
Having almost watched the full series approximately 3 times in the past 2 days, there were a few things that I thought were funny which I didn't pick up on when I was a kid. There were little Easter eggs sprinkled throughout, like the car that Tim tried to kill himself inside of playing the WrestleMania 22 theme, or the 911 operator playing Basic Thugonomics when they put Josh on hold. Overall, though, it was pointless for WB to start such an angle after people in the company started dropping dead, and it was pointless to continue it months later, albeit it was only on their website and not on any actual programming. With mentioning how awful of an idea this whole thing was, I would be lying if I said I didn't chuckle at a few moments in this series. Josh Matthews, for however I feel about him as a commentator, has an ability to be a pestering cockroach and annoy the shit out of people, so seeing Tim White, week in and week out, continuously try to traumatize him by killing himself to alter the course of his life had me crying at points. Outside of the little things, it's tasteless overall and not for everyone, considering the punchline of every skit is, he's so useless he can't even kill himself properly. But I'm more of a half glass full kind of guy, so I found a slight bit of value in that aspect. Matthews went on to become a commentator in WWE for many years before getting released in 2014. He signed with TNA in January of 2015 to become their new play-by-play guy. Perhaps his most notable piece of work in TNA was when he feuded with Jeremy Borash for a cool 4 months, which led to a match at Slammiversary. They were not at all trying to replicate any other story in wrestling, I promise. He even won his first and only wrestling championship in Impact, the Grand Championship, after Matt Sydal gifted it to him. I guess he technically didn't win it then. He remained with the company until around February of this year when he departed. He had since signed a deal with AEW where he is currently working as a producer. Following the conclusion of Lunchtime Suicide, I do not think Tim White made any other physical appearance on WB programming until 2021 when he appeared on a special for the A&E channel. White sold his bar, The Friendly Tap, which had since been renamed to simply The Tap in 2011 and was relatively quiet for the most part following. Outside of being interviewed for an Andre the Giant documentary on HBO that came out in 2018, as well as interviews with the likes of Sean Mooney or Hannibal, there's not much else to document about Tim White aside from his unfortunate passing on June 19th, 2022 at the age of 68 due to unspecified health issues. White would be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2023 by way of being a recipient of the Warrior Award, becoming the first referee to ever be inducted into their Hall of Fame. As I usually do, I will leave a link to the entire playlist in the description of this video in case you'd like to take a look at the series for yourself. The only thing is that the Armageddon segment in the 8th episode of the series is not on YouTube. You can find the former on Peacock. I am still unsure about the latter. Hey guys, I'm editing the video right now. I found this thing on WrestleCrap talking about the Tim White thing. Apparently in the lost episode, he threw himself into traffic, and they showed a picture of a real traffic accident, which is why probably YouTube took it down. I hope they don't take this one down. But yeah, that was Tim White's Lunchtime Suicide. What did you think? Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video, as I look for all feedback, positive or negative. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you do not miss out on any future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.